This video goes over sample problem number 2, focusing on Earned Income Credit, or EIC. Like the additional child tax credit, it is a refundable credit. The idea of this credit is to help the quote-unquote working poor, and as you will see, its purpose is built into the qualification to claim this credit. The qualifying taxpayers can receive this credit, this refundable credit, even when they have no filing requirement. Perhaps due to very low income level, they are not required to file a tax return, yet could receive this credit. Or if they owe no tax or had no tax income withheld, they can receive this refundable credit. The amount of EIC depends on whether the taxpayer qualifies for the credit and depends on whether or not the taxpayer have a qualifying child. There are 7 qualifications for this credit, and keep in mind that this credit, the purpose is to help the working poor. Therefore, this first qualification must have AGI very low. There's an AGI limit. Number 6, having certain types of income such as investment income that's too high, too much, 3,600 or more would disqualify the taxpayer from claiming this credit. Again, the purpose is to help the working poor, so then too much of this income disqualifies the taxpayer from claiming this credit. Number 7, another qualification based on income. The taxpayer must meet the earned income limits, meaning that there's a limit to the amount of earned income. Too much of it will disqualify the taxpayer from claiming this credit. Number 5, foreign income exclusion not allowed, meaning that the taxpayer must include foreign income as part of his or her income, and that would increase the income level, right? Again, the purpose is to help the working poor, meaning that too much income, the taxpayer would be too rich to qualify for the benefit of this credit. So far, we've gone through the qualifications that relates to income. There are 3 more qualifications that's more on the administrative side. Number 2, the taxpayer and qualifying children must have valid Social Security numbers. Number 3, not eligible if married filing separately. Typically married, the couple should be married filing jointly, but if they choose married filing separately, meaning that they find some type of benefits for filing separately, and if they are getting those benefits, the government says you will not be eligible for the benefit of getting this credit. Number 4, must be U.S. citizenship or resident alien status. Failure to meet any of these rules precludes the taxpayer from claiming this credit. Now, determining whether the taxpayer has qualifying child is important because eligibility rules differ based on the status. For the taxpayer with no qualifying child, if the taxpayer has no qualifying child, then the 7 rules on the previous slide must be met, plus these 4 additional rules. The taxpayer or spouse, doesn't have to be both, must be between the ages of 25 and 65. And also the taxpayer must not be eligible to be claimed as another taxpayer's dependent. 3, the taxpayer cannot be qualifying child of another taxpayer. And last, taxpayer must have lived in the U.S. for more than half of the tax year. These are the 4 additional qualifications if the taxpayer have no qualifying child. When the taxpayer does have a qualifying child, then the qualifications are those 7 rules plus 3 additional rules. First one, child must meet qualifying child test as in chapter 1, with 2 exceptions. The child need not meet the support test, and the child must live in the U.S. home for more than half of the tax year. That's number one. Number two is the qualifying child cannot be claimed by more than one taxpayer. And number three, the taxpayer cannot be qualifying child of another taxpayer. What is the amount of the EIC? It depends, and it needs to be looked up in the EIC table in Appendix B. The taxpayer must compare the EIC table amount based on the taxpayer's earned income and the taxpayer's AGI, and then claim the smaller of the two amounts. EIC numbers are updated each year. The EIC is reported on line 18A of Form 1040. To determine whether the taxpayer qualifies for the EIC, we use this worksheet, which is part of the tax return instructions and do not need to be filed along with the Form 1040. It goes through 6 steps to determine whether or not the taxpayer qualifies for the EIC. And if the taxpayer does qualify for the credit, another worksheet called Worksheet A, EIC line 18A, that worksheet needs to be filled out to find out how much is the earned income credit. And then that balance gets carried over and reported on line 18A of Form 1040. In addition, another schedule called Schedule EIC, which provides information on the qualifying child and needs to be filed along with Form 1040. Let's now go through the 6 steps on this worksheet. Step number 1, it starts off with asking about the child living with the taxpayer. Number 1 here, check yes. The reason is because there is one child that lives with the taxpayer, her daughter. And the amount on Form 1040, line 8B, which is the AGI. And is it less than $41,094? Yes, it is. That's the threshold, and here it's under this limit threshold. The AGI is under the threshold. Recall that to qualify must have very low income, and the AGI must be under the threshold. Number 2 of step 1, it relates to Social Security number. So check yes. Number 3, is the filing status married filing separately? No. If married filing separately, then that precludes the taxpayer from qualifying. Number 4, filing Form 2555 relating to foreign earned income. No. The qualification is cannot exclude foreign earned income. Number 5, were you or the spouse a non-resident alien for any part of 2019? No. Must be a U.S. citizen, right? Or a resident. On to step 2, investment income. How much investment income of the taxpayer? It comes from line 2B, and that's $1,580. Investment income is disqualified income, and this quote-unquote disqualified income cannot be too much. It cannot be more than $3,600. Okay, since it's not more than $3,600, we check off no and skip question 3, go to 4. Number 4, do any of the following apply? The answer is no, so go to step 3. Step 3 relates to the qualifying child. Number 1, are you claiming at least one child who meets the condition to be a qualifying child? Answer is yes. Number 2, are you filing a joint return? No. Number 3, can you be a qualifying child of another person for 2019? The answer is no, because if you can be a qualifying child of another person for 2019, then you cannot qualify for the credit. Next is step 4, but based on number 3 in step 3, our answer is no. It says to skip step 4 and go to step 5, because step 4 relates to filers without a qualifying child. But the taxpayer in this case does have a qualifying child. So go to step 5, Step 5 says, are you filing Schedule SE, meaning self-employment, because you were a member of the clergy or had a church employee, income of 108.28 or more? No. And then here in number 1, we input the amount from Form 1040 line 1. This is the amount of earned income, $32,000. And all of the answers to these are blank. Line 6 is a subtotal of lines 2 through 5. Next, line 7, subtract line 6 from line 1. So this is still the earned income that we carried from line 1 to line 7. Now line 8, enter all of your taxable compounded income, 0. Line 9, add lines 7 and 8. This is your earned income. It is the $32,000, and it's the amount from line 1 of Form 1040. Number 2, were you self-employed? In this case, no. Number 3, if you have any of the following, the answer to this is yes, and go to step 6. Why is it yes? Because one qualifying child and the earned income is less than the threshold of $41,094. On to step 6. It says, do you want the IRS to figure the credit for you? Now, oftentimes the taxpayer may not be able to figure out the tax credit, so then the IRS could be requested to figure it out for you. Here we're going to check no and go to worksheet A because we qualify for the credit. Worksheet A helps the taxpayer determine the amount of earned income credit. In part 1, all filers using worksheet A, so number 1, 32,000 we enter here for the earned income, and then number 2, we look up the amount of this 32,000 earned income in the EIC table, and the EIC table is contained in Appendix B of your textbook. It's also available in Blackboard as a PDF file under the IRS Forms menu tab. Look that up, the 32,000 in the EIC table, and you will find the answer to that is 1449. This is the EIC table. We want to look up the 32,000 of earned income in these two columns, at least and but less than. And then we find the corresponding amounts of EIC, earned income credit, based on the filing status. All filing status are here, and married filing jointly are on the right of it. Then we have to look at the qualifying child. In this case, it's 1 and head of household. So it's going to be in this column. Let's look for earned income. Earned income is right here, 32,000, and also again here. Which is it? It's exactly 32,000, so we want to look at this range here. 32,000, it's at least but less than this amount, so it wouldn't be less than this 32,000. It's at least 32,000 here, and this is our answer, 1,449, based on filing status of head of household and 1 qualifying child. Back on worksheet A, on line 2, the amount 1449, that's the amount from the EIC table that we just looked up. Go to line 3, enter the amount from Form 1040, line 8B. What is 8B? That's AGI. In line 1, we had put the earned income. Now in AB, we put AGI, 33,580. In number 4, it says all the amounts on lines 3 and 1 the same. It's not. So go to line 5. Line 5, the answer is no to both of these items. And so because it's no, what we have to do is we look up the amount on line 3. What is line 3? AGI. We look up this number in the EIC table. Just like how we looked up this earned income, the $32,000, to find the EIC of this amount. Now we need to look up this balance, the HEI, and find the EIC of that, which comes out to $1,202. Go to line 6. It says this is your earned income credit, $1,202. And also we have to populate line 18A. This is the amount of the earned income credit, $1,202. Here's Form 1040 on line 18A. Carried over the earned income credit that was determined on worksheet A. It's $1,202. And then the total amounts of refundable credits, $2,402. I'll leave it to you to figure out the rest of these lines here on Form 1040. Don't forget to sign and date. One other item is Schedule EIC. Let's take a look. All you're doing on here is listing the qualifying child's information: Tabitha Stevens, social security number, year of birth, relationship, number of months, and don't forget, always put the name and the social security number, any other applicable information. It cannot be missing. This wraps up sample problem number 2. Again, the video is not meant to give you everything, but I have gone over a lot in the series of videos on sample problem number 2. Remember, check your work, review everything, make sure that it adds up, that it calculates correctly, and there are no missing information, missing checkbox. Go back on Form 1040, the page 1 top section, fill in the dependent's name, check off child tax credit if that applies, or credit for other dependents. The purpose of these videos is to show you how to approach, how to analyze, and guide you to facilitate the learning of tax. Once again, it's not meant to give you everything, but a lot has been given. Therefore, you need to have this 100% correct to receive full credit.